Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Stripe Show podcast, brought to you by Encore Golf. Encore designs high-performance golf balls for players of all skill levels and swing speeds. So get fitted for your perfect golf ball today at EncoreGolf.com. Well, it is Friday, October 29th. It's Halloween weekend, and we are back with another happy hour edition of the Stripe Show podcast. And don't forget, I like to tell people every Halloween weekend, if you're crunched last minute for a costume and you don't know what to be, and it's Friday before and you don't want to go to Spirit Halloween and spend money on a costume, do what I do every single year. Go put on some pajamas and just be tired. That's it. That's the whole costume. It always gets a laugh. And that's my go-to almost every single year. And it'll make you the funny person at the party. It will crack a laugh and you get to be comfortable all night and warm. So there's my advice to you this weekend. I'm your host, Samantha Marks, sipping on my Friday treat. Every Friday morning this fall, I've been getting the same coffee order, trying to refrain myself from getting Starbucks during the week. So far, it's going well for the past few months. We're enjoying it sip by sip today for sure. As we know, the PGA Tour in Bermuda this weekend, lots of headlines surrounding weather so far this week already. Multiple players are saying it's the, quote, strongest winds they've ever played in, which is definitely saying something considering these guys have played all over the world. But you have to think this really is an island out in the middle of nowhere, right? Like out in the middle of the ocean. I went to Bermuda once when I was, I want to say I was probably 15 or 16 with my family just for fun. We didn't play golf. My dad goes on a yearly business conference trip, and that just happened to be where it was that year. But I remember it was windy the entire time we were there. So it does make sense to me, but any amount of weather that blows through would only exacerbate that. But nevertheless, our guest coming up later on the podcast was tied for the lead after round one. Yeah, you heard that right. Was that because I interviewed him on Wednesday before the first round? Well, it wasn't not because I interviewed him Wednesday before the first round. We'll put it that way. But before we get there, a couple of notable headlines. Justine, Use Golf Facts, is back at it again on Twitter yet again. We don't want to get blocked, so just go look for yourself. Defending Patrick Reed yet again and his sand debacle, 9 months ago? Let's just put the wine down and let it go, Justine. And then the other major headline this week, Greg Norman is set to be the commissioner of the Saudi-backed tour that's been rumored to be forming to rival the PGA Tour. Reports have rumored for a while that Norman was serve as commissioner of this tour, but it was kind of just speculation. But apparently there was like this meeting in New York City on Wednesday, and it was disclosed. It was this whole thing. So that will be interesting. But don't forget that earlier this year, PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan said that any player who commits to that new Saudi circuit will not be allowed to continue as a tour member. So there's been lots of rumblings of, what tour members are interested in the Saudi tour, what tour members aren't. A lot of rumblings about what kind of money will be offered, what events, they'll be able to plan over here and won't. And the majors are affiliated with the tour and aren't. And there's a lot of speculation right now, but very interesting that Greg Norman will be involved, confirmed. But enough of the boring stuff. Now on to the fun part. As you know, the past few months, we're getting to know the upcoming and I guess now current PGA Tour players, the Korn Ferry Tour guys who've secured their tour cards this season over the next several weeks. This week, we're getting to know number 3, Chad Ramey. I loved getting to chat with Chad and getting to know him on and off the golf course. As I said, after round 1 in Bermuda, I'm recording this now Friday morning. So going into round 2, he was tied for the lead with a stellar round of 6 under. He was able to fight that wind. 6 under par round there at Port Royal. And I know you're going to love this chat with him. He's a quiet guy. He's a shy guy, but he's got a great golf game to finish 3rd on the Korn Ferry Tour in that long COVID-19 season last season. So here's a little bit more about him on and off the golf course. And I know you're going to love this one. Check it out. Chad Ramey, thanks for joining us on the Stripe Show podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. You're coming at us live from Bermuda, recording this before the first round, where the weather has been questionable at best so far. 1 hour east of the East Coast here in Florida. Chad, describe the weather to us so far. How's the wind been? How's the weather been? What's been going on over there?
The weather has been not very good. I've spent majority of my time here in my hotel room. Um, as soon as I got here on Sunday, we were supposed to kind of stay in the resort at the hotel until we got our COVID test back. And then I got to play 12 holes Monday because they had a afternoon pro-am, got some practice in. And then Tuesday, the whole day for me was just a wash. I mean, it poured rain, the wind blew really hard. And then I was supposed to play in the pro-am this morning, and it was canceled. So they kept pushing it back, and it ended up being canceled. And so I ended up finally getting to go out to the course this afternoon and get just about an hour of practice in.
What does the course look like so far, and how do you feel like it's setting up with the big change in weather with the rain and stuff?
I mean, it looks like the course is in good condition. I mean, obviously, it's all going to have to do with the wind. I mean, I know the wind's supposed to blow pretty hard Thursday, and then Friday, I think it's supposed to lighten up a little. But I mean, the wind's always going to blow around here.
Is it wet out there? Is the ball looking like it's rolling at all?
So Monday got a little bit of roll, but we've had a decent amount of rain since then. So, I haven't been on the course since Monday, but I'd have to assume it's pretty soft right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we're looking forward to watching it and watching you and hoping that the weather clears up. As you know, as I've explained, we're highlighting the 25 Korn Ferry Tour players to advance to the PGA Tour this season. You were third on that list, of course. Congratulations. Your season highlighted by winning the 2020 Live and Work in Maine Open, but it was a long season. We've talked to several of those Korn Ferry Tour guys so far with the COVID wraparound super season. Describe that super season to us in your own words, because it was much longer than you're used to.
Right. I mean, it was just a really long season. I mean, you had to play 2 years of good golf where, normally 1 year would secure your card. It might have been a little bit of a blessing in disguise because, like I said, it took 2 years of good golf, and it gave you kind of an extra year to mature and, kind of get your golf game in order and ready for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that makes sense. What was that feeling finally like getting that PGA Tour card? Because you turned pro in 2014, right?
Yes, that's right.
I mean, it was finally able to say, like, I made it.
Right. It was a great feeling because, it's what I've kind of worked my whole life towards is, that's been a goal of mine to be on the PGA Tour and to just, finally achieve that, it was just a great feeling. At first it was pretty surreal because whenever I locked up my card, we still had, some Korn Ferry events, and every point counts, because it went towards your priority ranking, and it kind of determined on what tournaments you'd get to play in. And it turned out, every point counted.
Describe to us the next few days after you secured that card. You get your name stamped in that little gold card. I know that's not the actual card, but describe to us the next few days of celebrations with your family and your team and your friends.
I mean, it was great. It was, like I said, I think the very next week we were headed off to the final 3 events. So, it was kind of just a one night little celebration, had a few drinks, had a good time, but then it was almost like that next day we were right back to work.
So for you, when you set goals, what does that look like for you? And do you feel like that's changed at all going from the Korn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour, or does that kind of look the same?
No, it's pretty much the same. I like to set more, I would say, like kind of process goals. Like I kind of have a process that I want to run. I have certain things that I want to get done in the day. And that's kind of more along the lines of the goals that I set. Not really, I guess, I don't set a lot of result goals. I mean, obviously, I want to win, I want to get to number 1. But at the end of the day, all I can really control is what I kind of do day to day. So like I'm kind of more process driven, I would say.
What would you say to those people, out there who, obviously a lot of the people who listen to this probably aren't professional golfers, but those people who do set goals to win tournaments? I mean, because I understand that, because I did play at a high level, that's not the way to go. But why is that not the way to go?
I just feel like it gets you to me, it gets me too involved in the results and kind of away from the present. And I get a little too far out in front of myself and ahead of myself, and for me it just hasn't worked. If I can just kind of day to day have just those process driven goals that I can achieve day to day, like just little small goals, it's just in the long run it's worked out for me so much better.
Well, and it's true. The only person you can really control is yourself. You can do everything in your power and shoot 60 and feel like you're going to win. And if somebody shoots 59, there's really nothing you can do about it. But congratulations again. And that's really awesome that you were finally able to achieve that dream. But one stat I really wanted to specifically touch on, looking through your profile, and we talk about it a lot here on the podcast, is driving distance, but more important, driving accuracy. And you were 4th on the Korn Ferry Tour last year at 73%. You hit over 1,500 out of 2,000 possible fairways. How are you able to stay accurate while still being up there in the distance and driving distance on the Korn Ferry Tour? How are you able to stay accurate?
I don't know. That's a good question. The way I've kind of, I guess, trained my golf game is, like all the parts of my golf game, I'm essentially trying to make the same move, like whether I'm, chipping, pitching, hitting irons, or hitting a driver. So by me kind of creating or trying to create the same move with everything, it's almost like every aspect helps the other aspects of the game. So like if I go chip and I'm doing the same move that I'm wanting to achieve with my driver, it's that my chipping is actually helping my driving, and vice versa. So then I go hit some irons, like my irons are actually helping my chipping and my driving. So like for me, I feel like just because I've kind of tried to keep everything so similar, like in the motion wise, it's like if I can kind of get them figured out in the motion that I'm wanting to do, then it just helps everything all together.
I try to stay on Fridays away from the hot topics, but obviously Bryson and the guys chasing distance are out there. And it's something we talk about all the time. Is chasing distance and aspiring to get more distance something that you're working on or have worked on in the past couple of years?
No, it is not. I've actually kind of stayed away from that. I'm definitely not chasing distance, but if I can pick up some distance along the way, I'm 100% welcoming it. But I'm definitely not chasing it. I think in the off season, I'm gonna maybe trying to get in the gym a little bit and get a little stronger. But so that would be the way that I would chase distance if I'm going to is just to get in the gym, get stronger, get a little more fit. I'm definitely not going to change my swing. Like you said, my stat from earlier. I'm hitting the ball really straight, and that's one thing you have to do. And if I can get in the gym and add a little bit of distance with it, that'd be awesome.
Do you feel like that's a hot topic among the Korn Ferry Tour guys last year? Were a lot of people talking about doing that, and were some doing that?
Yes, it is. I'm not gonna say any names, but there's a couple of people that I know personally that were kind of chasing distance a little bit, and they didn't play as well. But it's hard to not chase distance when you see all the the top players in the world. Majority of them do hit it a long ways, but it's just one of those things that you have to be accurate with the distance. Like if you get the distance and you can't keep it in the fairway, it doesn't do you a whole lot of justice.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the downfall, and that's the hard part. A few random fun stats from your PGA Tour profile. It says here your dad is a golf course superintendent, and that got you into the game of golf. Tell me a little bit about that and your relationship with your dad growing up.
Yeah, so I mean, as early on as I can remember, I just remember going to the golf course with him. He was a golf course superintendent, so he would just kind of take me out there and let me run wild, just hit balls, and I just kind of grew to love the game. And so I was just around it 24/7, and then I think I was about 7 years old, and And just out of curiosity, we kind of put me in what we thought was kind of a local Mississippi tournament. And it turned out we got there and there's a bunch of other kids from different states. And it just, I competed really well and I loved it. And I actually told him, I said, if I quit playing all these other sports, will you take me to more golf tournaments? And he said, yeah, no problem. So that was kind of how I ultimately got into golf.
I love that. And then you actually attended the Masters at age 10.
I did.
Would you say that that's one of your big professional goals, is playing in it, obviously on the other side of the ropes?
100%. That's the only time I've ever been. And, that's been a goal of mine since, that first time I ever went was to make it back there as a player.
And then it also says your favorite athletes are Peyton Manning and Steph Curry. So are your go-to professional teams then the Broncos and the Warriors?
They are not. They're not. I just like them as, kind of people and, the way they played their sport and all. I'm definitely not tied to either of those teams, though.
Then tell us your teams.
I don't really have many professional teams. Being from Mississippi, we don't have any, maybe a couple of minor league teams. So we have no major professional teams in Mississippi. So I really don't have a specific. I mean, I guess I would have to say maybe the Cowboys because Dak Prescott's there and he went to Mississippi State, but I really don't have a professional team.
Okay, we'll allow it. Well, Travis Fulton is the other host of this podcast, an instructor, as you probably know. So one instruction question, what's your go-to swing fault? What's the thing you struggle with the most? That's always your, the one thing you have to go back to when you are struggling with your swing.
It's always tempo for me. I feel like, from a young age, I've always been very tempo driven. And if my tempo gets off, it's just the other smaller feels in my swing, I just can't make them happen. So it's always kind of tempo first. And if I've ever at a point in my career been tempo is not that important, it's with less than 2 or 3 days, I'm right back to it.
And is that usually at the top of your swing it gets too fast and that's where you lose it in the impact zone?
Yeah, a little bit for me. I guess personally for me, it's more my hands will get up to the top of my backswing and they'll kind of stop and my lower body will go and then they'll try and catch up. So for me, I kind of have to keep my hands moving with my body. If they ever my hands get left behind, that's where I start having a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, here's the last thing. We have some rapid fire questions. We're asking every player the same set of questions to get your future fans to help to get to know you better off the golf course. Answer whatever comes to mind first as quick as possible. Okay.
All
right. Biggest thing you're excited about on the PGA Tour this year?
Just new courses.
Best golf tip for the weekend player?
I would say tempo.
Okay. Top 3 players you're most excited to play with?
Oh, probably say a Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, and never know, maybe I'll get paired with Phil.
Who and what motivates you?
I would have to say myself.
Okay, I like that one. 3 words to best describe you as a person.
I would say hardworking, quiet, and I don't know. That's hardworking, quiet, and I'd probably say stubborn. I'm pretty stubborn.
Okay, 3 words to best describe your golf game.
So I would have to say neutral. Dang. I'd have to say neutral. I'd probably have to go back to quiet. I kind of pretty reserved to myself, so I'd say neutral, quiet, and I don't know if this is necessarily the word, but I'd still have to go back to that tempo, some rhythm, I guess you could say.
Do you have any passions that are not golf related?
Hunting.
If you were not a golfer, what would you be doing with your life?
Oh gosh, I'd probably always be doing something with golf wherever that took me. But I don't know. Maybe I would, be like a hunting guide or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Your top 3 golf courses that you've ever played?
I love Pebble Beach the few times I've played it, so I'd say Pebble Beach. I like Pumpkin Ridge, Pebble Beach, Pumpkin Ridge, maybe the Alotian Club.
That's a good one. I went to school in Arkansas, so very familiar
Nice.
with Alotian. Best advice you were ever told?
Just never give up.
Classic. Your most memorable golf shot to this day?
I mean, it's probably kind of pretty cliche, but probably the winning putt I made in Maine. I mean, it wasn't but like 3 or 4 inches, I'm pretty sure, but I mean, it'd have to be that.
I love that. That's a great answer. And that was the last question. I
Nice.
love that one. Well, I love those answers. And I love chatting with you today, Chad. Thanks so much for your time and joining me on the Stripe Show podcast.
Yeah, anytime.
I appreciate you. Good luck this week in Bermuda. I hope the weather holds up for all of you, and good luck in the rest of this PGA Tour season. We'll be watching for you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chad. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you.